you're bringing us home with our last talk of the day.
That's right.
Talking about online courses. We have been dancing around this topic in various ways, talking about cohorts, talking about pre-recorded. You and I have worked together quite a bit this year on courses, on boot camps, all of those things. It's been absolutely incredible. The people whose lives have been changed because they've gone through these courses together. And it makes a heck of a great way to monetize an audience too.
It does. It does. And as I always say, your earnings should be a byproduct of how well you serve your audience. And building an online course, something that you could create, whether it is a DIY course, which I'll talk about a little bit today, and you set up those things once, it becomes an asset that you could continually bring more people into over and over again. And then, again, a result of serving those people, getting paid back in return. Or perhaps it's a cohort-based course, just like what Wes was talking about. And we've had some incredible success with that because of certain trends that we've been seeing as well. And so I'll be talking about these things because really the whole idea of my talk today is about the future of online courses. But of course, and if you don't mind, I'm just gonna dive right in right now.
Yeah, take it away, Pat.
All right. Well, I'm gonna share my screen and I'm gonna get into Keynote here, and you will not be surprised at the very first slide that you're gonna see, which, of course, because we're talking about the future, we're talking about DeLoreans. So we're going to get into this right now. Tony, can you confirm for me really quick that you can see my slides, and then we'll
Yep. I'm pulling. I got your slides up now.
Excellent. Okay, we're going to go 88 miles per hour so we can get there quickly. Flux capacitors fluxing. We are ready to go. So really important, before we start thinking about the future of online courses and how they might integrate into our brands in some way, shape, or form, we do need to go back into the past. And when we go back into the past, I want us to think about how humans are, how we are as people, because the truth is that although things are changing quite quickly, although there is new technology coming out and things are becoming more and more accessible, the truth is that the one thing that has always remained the same is people and what people want and their behaviors. The technology changes, accessibility to these things changes, but the people remain the same. So even things that are seemingly trivial, like selfies, right? Remember when selfies were a big thing? This was a really, really big deal at the Emmys or the Oscars or whatever. And there was a selfie that Ellen took, right? Well, this was a big new thing. Selfies became a word that Webster put in their dictionary. But again, this was something that, again, as humans, we just love to do. And this was probably one of the first selfies ever taken on one of those boxes. I just wonder how long they had to stand there. But that's what's very interesting is that I want to go back into my history with online courses, not from the creation of online courses, because it took me a while to understand how to do this. It took me a while to get over the fear and understand how to find placement and positioning inside of a particular niche. But I want to go back to the first course that I ever took as a student and why I took this course. Let me know in the chat, and big shout out too if you have heard of this before. Internet Business Mastery. So when I got laid off from the architecture space and I was trying to find my way online, I really found home with these guys here, Jeremy and Jason from Internet Business Mastery. And they came out with something called the Internet Business Mastery Academy, which was this giant of a course to help people build an online business. That is a very wide topic, right? But this was back in 2008. There wasn't a lot of really accessible information about this. And even though there were other courses out there that existed, I really trusted Jeremy and Jason through their podcast. They delivered a lot of value. I got a lot of inspiration. I was seeing small, quick wins here and there, but I wanted to go big. I wanted to invest in myself and learn from people who I trusted. And I saw some success stories coming out of the Internet Business Mastery Academy as well. There were some interesting things when I reflect on courses and how they were back in the day. Back in 2008 at least, and we are definitely internet grandpas and grandmas now, it seems, with that previous conversation. A lot of us in the chat dating ourselves with the fact that you still have cassettes and VHSs. I didn't see any Betamaxes or anything, but who knows? Maybe you're staying quiet. So successful courses in 2008, the courses covered wide topics, right? Successful courses covered wide topics. Why? Because information about these topics didn't really exist anywhere convenient. And it was actually nice to have them all in one spot. But also, people didn't ever share these things publicly yet. So by putting them in a course, you could charge for these things, right? The value came from access to new and more information. I remember reading a lot of sales pages back in the day, and even the Internet Business Mastery one, right? It was like, hey, there's 40 hours of content here, right? And you think about that now, and you're like, wow, that's a lot of content. That doesn't necessarily make us feel the same way as it did back then, because back then it was like we need to get this information that we don't have access to yet. Now we kind of all have access to all information already. So what's the value? Well, we're going to get into that now in just a second. But the successful online courses in 2008 also came with huge, big, open, close style launches, right? Where people would recruit a whole bunch of JVs, and this still happens. It doesn't, it hasn't gone away. It's just become a lot easier and more accessible now. But big open close style launches where it was like a 3-month run up and then a 3-video series. You might have heard the episode with Jeff Walker on SPI recently. These things still work. They do exist, but also they take a lot of work and sometimes too much to a point where people burn out potentially. Sales pages were very, very long, right? Like, I don't know, 10,000 words. It was almost like reading a novel sometimes. These super long form sales pages don't exist anymore, or they do, but there's a lot of work up front that's necessary for getting a person really to understand. You need really good copy. You need really good headlines to get a person to go all the way down to the bottom of the page. You don't really see these anymore. And they're often reserved, these successful courses back in the day were reserved for brands with huge audiences or large ad budgets, right? So big audiences where we could essentially go, hey, here's our course, and hopefully some people would buy because we've built trust with them over time, or large ad budgets where we could get in front of millions of people on platforms, Google, Facebook, etc., to hopefully convert some of those people. But it's changed, right? It has changed. Successful courses today actually cover very specific and specialized topics, right? Which is really, really good for us because we all have certain specialties, or we can find our way into a specific specialty. And we don't necessarily have to feel like we need to make $1 million or have 1 million people go through it in order for it to still be incredibly successful. And depending on the kind of course you come out with, you can charge a different dollar amount that could have you seeing really good money coming in by helping really well just a few amount of people. The value nowadays comes from the convenience, right? There's so much information out there. As you'll hear, I'll talk a lot about this a little bit later on, but I think we're all suffering from content bloat, right? We're content tourists now. We're going everywhere. But when we can create that really amazing experience all in one spot and hold people accountable through that process, so it's not just here, buy this and go, there is some sort of accountability or structure to it. That is where the value comes from within online courses today. Audience driven. This is my favorite thing, and this is the whole point of this conference, is learning from the audience that you've grown to what it is that you should be creating as far as an online course. What is that specialty that you have that can align with the audience's want? To Wes's comments earlier about finding a niche and what that overlap is with what you love to do versus what people want to do. Audience driven is definitely the way to go because you don't have to guess anymore when you approach it that way. Instead of super long form sales pages, what's really working today are success stories. You hear people like Stu McLaren and Amy Porterfield, who have just recently done launches. They tell so many great stories about the people who have gone through their courses. So if you have courses, or in the future when you have courses, consider the results of those students. And because that's really what we want to offer. We want to offer results. That's what people are buying, right? Nobody wakes up in the morning and goes, I cannot wait to buy an online course today. They say, I want the transformation. I want that thing that the online course will then give me. When you can get better at telling these stories, whether it's on a podcast, on a blog, in an email, or in a video, they do such a good job of converting because those stories are relatable. They are memorable. Those stories get shared. I don't know anybody who's ever come up to me and said, Pat, I got to tell you about this thing I read in a long form sales page. Nobody's ever said that. But people have said, Pat, I got to tell you about this course because it literally changed my life, right? And then now we have the ability to create evergreen promotion, right? Not just huge open close launches, but maybe your course becomes something that is always available, right? It's a la carte. It's in your navigation area and people can buy it anytime. Or you can still create launch-like sequences with scarcity and urgency involved using different tools that are out there. And I'm not going to get into those tools right now, but you can create automated sequences and you can have this thing continue to work like a machine, which is really, really amazing. And what's really cool is there's a lot of small brands, even people who I know who have less than 100 emails in their email list are doing really well with online courses. Speaking of online courses, I want to share my favorite online course and why I love it so much. It's actually this course right here by Michael Hyatt, 5 days to your best year ever. What's really amazing about this course is that it's only an hour and 15 minutes of content. Just 1 hour and 15 minutes. That's it. There's a workbook that comes with it, and it's $297. And it's an absolute game changer for me as far as planning my next year. And when this was still available, he's since converted to more journals and stuff. But I bought this every year for this amount of money in November because it truly was helpful. And I was thankful that it was only an hour and 15 minutes, right? I think courses now are not led with look at how many hours of content there is. It's look at the result that you can get, and here's how quickly you can get it. So this leads us to the first paid online course that we at SPI have promoted. You might remember this. Some of you might even be students of Power Up Podcasting, launched in 2017. Now, this was not the first podcasting course in existence, and that's really important because a lot of us feel like, oh, if somebody else has already a course about this, then we are unable to come in and provide something new, or we just might be copying or what have you. But the truth is, people want to learn from you and not the other person. They want to learn in your style, and perhaps you were the person who built trust with them. And this is where we can now convert them, but not convert them to make money, but convert them to understand that you have information and the ability to help them receive a transformation. We launched with a founders and beta group, which is often what I recommend. This is a smaller, limited group where you can give them special attention and access. You perhaps can even build and even pre-sell the course with those students. So you can pre-sell it, let them know it's coming, and you treat it almost like a live launch of a course. And then you have this amazing asset with not just a finished course, but you have now testimonials too. And we wanted to do it that way. Since then, 3,764 students have joined. Right? That's not millions. This is not tens of thousands of students. 3,764 within the last 3.5 years. And we've generated top line $2,102,971 in sales. $2 million in sales with a course that, yes, there were other ones in existence already. We have a lot of free information about this course, but people wanted the convenience and they wanted the accountability and they wanted the shortest cut to make it happen. And they're getting results. Here are just some of the students that have come across this course. This is some of their artwork, which is really amazing. Some really life-changing stuff as well. And remember what I said about telling stories about your success students? Well, this was an episode where I invited 3 successful founding students or beta students onto our podcast in episode 275 to talk about their story. I didn't ask them to come on the show to go, hey, tell me why Power Up Podcasting is awesome. Dr. B, your turn. Shannon, your turn. And Rob from Disney Travel Secrets, your turn. No, I said, Dr. B, why did you want to start a podcast? She talked about how she really wanted to help people with ADHD. She wanted to help people worldwide, knew a podcast was a great way to do it. And guess what? I asked her, well, what were your biggest challenges? Why didn't you create this before? Oh, well, I'm over 60 years old. I'm afraid of technology. And what's she saying at this point? She's saying literally what many people who are listening are telling themselves about why they can't do it either. But then they hear what? They hear the result. They hear the transformation. Dr. B in the first 15 minutes told a story about how every time she's in a new country now, she puts a pin up on a map in front of her computer. And at this time, just a few months after she launched, she said that she had over 33 countries that she was in now, helping people with ADHD, people reaching out to her now for help to get on the show, connections. Same thing with Dr. Shannon, Rob, and his wife talked about how they co-host the show, how their business increased by 343% as a result of starting their podcast. And as a result of sharing this success with my audience on the podcast. This episode did a really good job of selling into that course. And I timed it so that this episode, of course, came out during a launch. It did very well. So success stories, success stories, success stories, right? Now, this was a digital DIY course, and it did very well. Thousands of students have come in. However, some people needed additional help. We noticed that, of course, our completion rate was not 100%. It's hardly ever is for a digital online course, self-paced, do it on your own. So in the year of 2019, which seems like forever ago, I tried to consider, okay, what can we do to help people who maybe DIY wasn't the right answer for them? How might we help those who want to do this, but just don't have the time? So I created something called the Power Up Podcasting Fast Track Workshop. And this was just an idea. We tested it. I always recommend you test things to see if they work or not. This is a limited in-person group training. So people flew to San Diego, a 2-day all-in immersive event from start to finish each day. Then we had dinner at night and we really, really bonded. It's the same content as a DIY course. I just taught it across 2 days. So imagine the whole DIY course all in 2 days with help and over the shoulder, and you're kind of making decisions as you go. $3,500 per ticket. Wes talked about how these kinds of experiences you could charge a lot more for. And we had an absolutely incredible experience. This was from our June 1st, 2019. This is the group on the left-hand side. Not a ton of people, right? About 8 people came in. and 9 people, and learned right on the go. And this was like 100% success rate, which was really amazing. There's Jess and I, a rare picture of Jess. You might know her from the email and any live events that we've done together. Just we had to commemorate that moment because it was very, very successful. But here's the thing about live in-person training. Yes, huge completion rates. Yes, incredible friendships and experiences. Yes, absolutely hands-on training. But it was a tiring, quote unquote, 2 days. There was many weeks of preparation for this. There were lots of coordination things that needed to happen as far as flights, hotel, accommodations, conference rooms, food, all this stuff. There was so much to think about. And unfortunately, because it cost a little bit more, it had to cost more because of all the things we had to do, a lot of people couldn't make it. A lot of people wanted to make it. A lot of people were experiencing FOMO, the fear of missing out, especially because on social, I was sharing it as we were going along. And of course, this became impossible to do during a pandemic. So unfortunately, the live in-person trainings, as awesome as they are, as fulfilling as they can be, and as much as they help people, we just couldn't do them anymore. So we went, how do we continue to help people here? Not in person, but in a group where we can teach people over their shoulder, get people helping each other. And that's when we created the Power Up Podcasting Bootcamp. This was our CBC or cohort-based course. And big shout out to Wes, Maven, Jay, Matt, and I went into a training about how to run cohort-based courses, and it was absolutely madness. It was I felt like I was in school again. Matt and Jay, I know, can attest to this, but it was some of the most helpful stuff that got us results so quickly. And not only was it great to get access to Wes and the team over there and some really good curriculum, but it was also even more amazing to get access to other students who were going through it with me and to get direct feedback from them right away, to hear initially what they thought about the thing we were creating and to go, oh, I don't know what that means. Well, that means we have to do a better job of positioning it. And we hear that right away, and that's incredible. Group training, yes, it is online. So through Zoom or other live streaming type things, 6 to 8 week program. We created this for Power Up Podcasting, accountability and controlled access. That's the thing. It wasn't like they could text anytime, but here are the times when we meet and when you can group up and when you can have access to us. Co-working time, so literal time where we just sit and get work done together. Peer-to-peer learning is incredible. And again, a big thank you to Wes at maven.com for helping inspire us to do that, because now it's becoming a part of, in addition to our DIY courses, we're not doing live trainings right now, but boot camps have become a major part of our business plan as well. And they can become a major part of your business plan too. And you don't need a lot of people. From our latest cohort, this is not Power Up Podcasting, but this is from our graduation, from our latest cohort for our brand new course. Our brand new course that we created is called Heroic Online Courses. This is something that we tested first with a boot camp to validate that. We had so many people come in. This is from our graduation. You see Matt up there with Jay, and Tony is there as well. I am, and so many amazing students who worked with us for 6 weeks. Or I think it was 8 weeks. In fact, this course was 8 weeks. No, I think it was 6 weeks to go through it and get the help that you might get as in person, but over across a longer period of time. And it's really exciting. And I'm quite proud because all of this leads us to the launch today, literally today, the launch of our audience-driven course, meaning this is the most top in-demand course that we've had for so long now. We've tested it with the cohort now. We've gotten fantastic results. And now we have the DIY course, which is available today. We're announcing this for the first time. Heroic Online Courses. The digital course is there. You can also click to learn more about going into our upcoming boot camp, which starts on November 1st as well. If you want to get training with us for 6 weeks, we take a break during Thanksgiving week and come together. We have a brand new graduation before the Christmas season and holiday season. And I'm really excited because I want to share with you exactly all that's in here. So Heroic Online Courses, we have a first-time offer for $499. This is absolutely the lowest price, and it is an absolute steal. We know this. Again, here's where you click if you know you want to get more and have the bootcamp version of it too. But I want to go through the curriculum with you. You can read the sales page if you like. There are already success stories there from students who have taken it. Here we go. Module 1, nail your niche. We're going to nail your niche. We're going to understand exactly who it is that you're going to serve, and not just like who are they and what we could create for them, but we tap into the psyche, what's happening in their head, so we know how to speak to them. We know exactly what they might want, and we know exactly where to find them. Module number 2, creating your online course. So this is a special sequence of it's actually a process that I use for things from books to courses. I'm going to teach you this process, and it's absolutely like magic to help you create a course that is perfect for this target audience of yours. And what's cool about this is it's not a course with 80 videos. It's going to be a course that is the minimum viable result, transformational opportunity for your audience, right? Then number 3, and this is where a lot of other courses fall short, and that is with the marketing of it, right? We're actually going to take you through a series of exercises that help you build your sales page as we go so that you will have your sales page proven in a method, in a platform, and in a structure that will absolutely work. And we work that through with you. Then we create a production and launch plan. So we have you choose a date when this thing's going to launch. And then and then we also talk about, well, how might I launch this? Even if you have zero audience right now, how might you still succeed with this? We have literal plans to help you do that if you're just starting out from scratch. There's also plans for you if you have an audience already. How do you beta launch a course? How do you launch it fully in public? How might you go about getting people on the email list to do this? This is all baked into the course. Module 5, the right mindset. So this is where we start to insert. This is the part usually where you start to fear. You start to fear things. We're going to help you build a support system, help you understand what's going through your head, and help you put things on the calendar for production. Because in Module 6, the final module, we're going to teach you some tricks to help you produce your course. This course, Heroic Online Courses, was produced over a 2-day period. Myself and Caleb, with our system that we've used over 10 times with other courses that we've created, is here to help you as you go along. So smartpassiveincome.com/HOC to get access to that. And I couldn't be more excited for everybody who's going to be here and who's going to get into the course. We'll send you some emails about it as well. But this is where online courses are going. Specialized courses for you and your brand, where even with a small audience, you could build something once that can be working for them over and over and over again. Athena here is from the inaugural community, and she said it's amazing, and the group is still meeting each week to support each other. I love that. That's the cool thing about cohort-based courses. A really interesting thing that this is based off of our Power Up Podcasting bootcamps and courses, right? So we first had the digital course, the DIY course, and when we sold into our bootcamp, half the students were actually people who had already purchased the digital course. People who said, yeah, I remember buying that and I just didn't have the time to do it. And that's the way you market the bootcamp to people who've already purchased the DIY. So as you can see, you can create an environment all around one topic that has multi-levels of different ways people can interact with you at different price points. So what we said to the people who were students who we saw didn't complete the course yet, we said, hey, you're probably like me. You probably bought this because you really want to build a podcast, but you just don't have the time. And you probably prefer to learn in person and get everything all in a short period of time. Well, why don't you join me in San Diego? Or why don't you join us in this cohort? Right? And then for the people who didn't purchase yet, right? These are the people who, yeah, the DIY really wasn't for them. We pitched it in a very similar way. He said, hey, you know what? You're probably like me. You probably know that you just cannot go through a self-paced course on your own. You probably know you don't have the time to do it, or perhaps you failed in the past, which is why we are offering this cohort-based version of it, right? So what's really cool is you can sort of position it in both ways like that. So I'm happy to take some questions about online courses while we finish up here, but I would love to invite you to be a part of our first launch of our digital DIY version of our course and our next round of cohort-based heroic online courses. Why heroic? Because when you are creating an online course, you are the guide. You are not the hero, right? I think we know this. We've heard of story brand, right? We are not the heroes. We are the guides. And it's the person who's going through that transformation, like every good hero does. A good hero starts with challenges and goes into a land unknown and then receives help from a guide. They might find a lightsaber or so, and then move on to to defeat the evil forces that are out there and come back better on the other side, right? So happy to take some questions. Gabrielle says, if you have an idea for the niche you want to serve, but no audience yet, can you still create an online course by going through this course? Absolutely. Absolutely. Here's the secret. I'm gonna give this to you right now. Because in module 4, where we talk about building a marketing plan, if you are literally just starting out and you don't have an audience yet, well, actually, module 1 helps you go and find out where the audience exists so you can have conversations with them. That's really important. But in module 4, we go through a launch sequence process to help you get one student, one result. Before you actually go and start filming your course, you create the curriculum in module 3. We'll help you go through the outlining process, for example. Then in module 4, we help you go through a marketing process to find one person to get them one result. That will essentially force you to find that person, to know how to position yourself to convince a single person. Let's make it simple. Let's find one person, get them one result. And that's going to do a couple things. Number one, it's going to help you understand how to do that. Number two, it's going to help you understand how to actually create a curriculum for one person and understand what they're going through. They might be needing some help. That helps fill in the holes along the way. And then what's beautiful about this is by the end of this, you're also going to have a testimonial so that when you launch this and the confidence to know that this already works, We'd spoken with Nicole Walters earlier today, right? We were talking about, well, how do you get the confidence to sell? Especially if you're just starting out and you've never done this before. Here's the best way to do it. Get one person, one result. See the transformation that you can offer them. And then what happens is internally you go, wow, I kind of have a responsibility now to share this with as many people as I can. You almost have an obligation to do this now, right? Which is really amazing. And yes, all of our online courses have an academy that you can get access to other students. You have essentially a platform on Circle where you can connect with other students and our team as well. That's separate from SPI Pro. Does this teach you how to develop CBC or MOOCs? So MOOCs are massive online open courses, which are essentially courses that you create with unlimited sort of viewing. CBCs and MOOCs are different, but the MOOC can become the CBC, not the CDC. The CBC, right? The cohort-based courses. So I would recommend, essentially this will help you go through the process and understand which one is best for you, right? All right. So Tony, that's the end of the presentation. Again, if anybody wants to check out Heroic Online Courses, smartpassiveincome.com/HOC, and you can kind of see where online courses are going. It's not just a set it up once and forget it. It's you set it up and you actually start to pay attention to how people are going through it, even if it's a DIY. With Power Up Podcasting, we've gone through a second iteration of that. It became a great excuse to launch it again and get more people in there. And I know, and you know firsthand, Tony, that the results speak for themselves, not just from our courses, but other people are creating courses too, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, well, first of all, congrats, Pat. We're here. Amazing presentation. So excited for the launch of this. So excited to have more people being able to take this course since we were able to do that test boot camp over the summer. Just being able to get it in more people's hands is going to be a big win.
Yeah. And there was a question,
Pat,
somebody asking, does this help you create a cohort-based course or a DIY course? It'll help you create the curriculum and the understanding of how to sell this. Whether or not you want to turn that curriculum into a cohort-based course, which I don't go into the training like Wes does with as far as here's how you lead a co-working session, here's how you lead a session in Zoom where you can then create breakout rooms. I don't get into that, but it is built for a DIY course that you can then convert into a CBC.
Amazing. All right. Well, thanks for that, Pat. I want to bring you back in.